Today begins with Remy the rat, who loved Chef Gusteau, the most famous chef in Paris, because he always said that anyone can cook. And Remy the rat talks about himself, saying he loves to cook and appreciate food, and he wasn't like any regular rat. And his brother Emile, who would eat anything, even paper. And his dad was the leader of the rats, and thanks to Remy's strong sense of smell, he was able to save them from poisoned rat food. And since then, they kept bringing food to him to check if it had poison in it or not. And after that, the rat says he doesn't want them eating out of the garbage. And then his dad tells him that humans throw the food away, which means they don't want it anymore. But Remy stays firm on his opinion that they should eat clean food. And then Remy decides to take his brother Emile to grab some food from a human kitchen that is clean and not poisoned. And at that time, the owner of the house has the TV on, and he hears that Chef Gusteau, whom he loves, has died. And suddenly the house owner wakes up, sees Remy and Emile, and starts chasing them. So they run fast and escape from her. And Remy takes the cookbook with him. And then he gets separated from his family, falls into the sewer, and holds on to the book until he reaches the drainage pipes. After that, he sits flipping through the book while sitting all alone. And he imagines that Chef Gusteau is with him, talking to him and telling him to see the world, look ahead, and forget what happened. And then Remy goes up to the street, moves between the buildings, sees Gusteau's restaurant, and gets super happy that he reached Paris. And at that time, the head chef Skinner enters the kitchen of Gusteau's restaurant and finds a young guy waiting for him named Linguini. And he tells him that he's the son of Chef Gusteau's friend, gives him a letter from his mom, and begs him to help him get a job at the restaurant. And right then, Skinner hires him as a garbage. And at that time, the rat enters the kitchen but slips and falls into the sink, then quickly gets out and hides. And Linguini was trying to add his touch to the soup, completely messing it up, of course. And then Remy the rat goes over and starts adding spices and ingredients to improve its taste. And after that, Chef Skinner comes over and yells at Linguini for messing with the soup ingredients. And right then, the assistant chef appears while handing the soup to the waiter. And at that moment, Skinner runs after him trying to stop him, but fails to catch him in time. And then Skinner gets really angry. But suddenly the waiter comes in and tells the chef that the customers are asking about him. After that, Skinner walks in and says the customers loved the soup, and of course he was annoyed with Linguini. And right then, Colette, a very talented cook, shows up and defends him, telling him he shouldn't fire him since the customers loved the soup. And at that time, Skinner gets mad, places her in charge of him, and tells him to make the soup again while they watch how he does it this time. And right then, Remy the rat tries to escape out of fear, and when Skinner sees him, he screams and orders Linguini to get rid of him. And after that, Linguini goes outside with the rat and was about to throw him into the water. Then Linguini yells and throws the rat away. And after that, he thinks about it and tells him that since he managed to make a soup they liked, he can do it again. And at that time, Linguini goes back home with him and shows him around his place. And after that, Remy sits looking at the Eiffel Tower from the window happily and then goes to sleep. And the next morning, Linguini wakes up to find that Remy prepared breakfast for him. And after that, they go to the restaurant together, and Linguini decides to hide the rat in his clothes, but the rat keeps biting him. And Linguini keeps twitching in front of the other cooks, who are confused by his weird movements. And then he goes into the fridge and realizes the rat is hungry, so he gives him some cheese. And right then, Chef Skinner walks in and spots the rat. But Linguini quickly turns off the light and hides the rat inside his chef hat. And after that, they agree that the rat will control his movements by pulling his hair. He practices with him at home, and both of them succeed the second time in making the soup. And then it impresses the chef, who sends him to Colette so she can train him. And she tells him that she worked extremely hard to get to where she is, and won't let anyone ruin it for her, so he has to listen and not make a single mistake. And after that, Skinner appears reading the letter from Linguini's mother, which proves that he is Gusteau's son. And at that time, he tells his lawyer that Gusteau's will states if 2 years pass without an heir appearing, the restaurant goes to the sous chef, Skinner.
But Linguini's appearance will change. There will because he's Gusteau's son. And at that point, the lawyer asks him to get a hair from Linguini's hat so they can confirm via DNA test whether he's really Gusteau's son or not. And after that, Colette starts teaching Linguini how to cook. And then Remy the rat wants to add his special touch to the food, but Colette tells him he must follow the exact steps. And one day, the customers ask for a new dish that isn't on the menu, and Skinner goes to Linguini and makes him cook one of Gusteau's old recipes, choosing a very difficult recipe for him. And someone present reminds Skinner that no one liked this recipe, not even Gusteau. But Skinner wanted to prove to them that Linguini is a failure. And right then, Linguini begins preparing the recipe with Remy's help, and the rat makes Linguini modify the ingredients. And after that, they find out that the customers loved the food and are coming to the restaurant specifically for him, and the cooks celebrate. Linguini takes Remy outside and brings him some food, and when he goes back inside, Chef Skinner pulls the hat off Linguini's head, but finds nothing underneath. And after that, one of the assistants tries to create friction between Colette and Linguini, telling her that it looks like he's going to take her spot. And at that time, Remy the rat sees his brother Emile eating from the garbage as usual, and then Remy goes inside to get him food from the restaurant. At that time, Skinner was sitting with Linguini, asking him where he learned to cook, and trying to trick him into revealing the truth about the rat, since he saw its shadow under the hat while cooking. And after that, Emile tells his brother Remy that he needs to come back with him to reassure his dad and the rest of the rats, who get super happy when they see him. And Remy walks down the street, running terrified from cars and people, getting really upset and saying that now he knows how the world views rats. And after that, he meets his brother Emile, who was asking him for food, so Remy decides to steal food for him. But then he finds the letter and discovers the truth that Linguini is Gusteau's son and his sole heir. And right then, Skinner comes in and chases the rat, who successfully escapes and hands the paper to Linguini, who becomes the restaurant owner, confesses his love to Colette, and gets featured in the newspapers. And we go back to Remy, whose family comes to visit him, and Remy keeps pulling food out of the fridge for them. And one day, reporters were asking Linguini about the secret behind his talent, and Linguini keeps talking about himself without ever mentioning Remy the rat, who gets really hurt and upset. And suddenly, Ego, the famous critic, walks in and announces that he will come tomorrow to taste his food and write a review about him. And right then, Linguini gets into a fight with Remy, kicks him out of the restaurant, and throws him away. And when Linguini returns home, he doesn't find Remy because Remy is with his family, bringing them into the restaurant kitchen to eat and run around everywhere. And at that moment, Linguini goes to Remy the rat to apologize to him. But when he opens the fridge, he finds tons of rats and realizes Remy was stealing food for them, so he kicks them all out. And then Chef Skinner manages to trap Remy in a cage and threatens him to help him cook, or else he'll kill him. And after that, the critic Ego arrives at Linguini's restaurant and asks the waiter to tell Linguini to serve his absolute best dish for evaluation. And right then, Emile appears with his dad, and they rescue Remy from the cage. And Remy tells them he has to go back to the restaurant to help Linguini. And at that time, Linguini has no idea how to cook without Remy the rat. And when Remy arrives, the kitchen staff tries to kill him, so Linguini confesses the whole truth to them. But the staff walks out on him, and even Colette leaves him too. And after that, Remy's dad shows up with his family and tells him they are going to help him. But right then, the health inspector sent by Skinner enters and sees a horde of rats standing in the kitchen. And at that moment, Remy asks them to capture him and prevent him from escaping, and they all team up and cook together. Meanwhile, Linguini serves the food to the guests, and after that, Colette returns to help them because she remembered Gusteau's words that anyone can cook. And right then, Remy the rat decides to make a ratatouille dish for the critic Ego, and when it's ready, Linguini serves the dish to the critic Ego nervously, and at that moment, Ego is blown away by the taste of the food and tells Linguini that it tastes incredible. And then Linguini tells him that he wasn't the one who cooked it, and if he wants to meet the real chef, he should wait until everyone leaves. And indeed, he sees the rat, but then leaves them and walks away.
And a few days later, Ego writes a review, stating that not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere, expressing his awe at the genius cooking at Gusteau's restaurant, whom he considers the finest chef in all of France. And after that, the health inspector reports the health violations, and unfortunately, the restaurant gets closed down forever. But Linguini, Remy, and Ego open up a small bistro together, serving the finest food in Paris.
And with that, our movie ends. Hope you liked the recap. If you reached the end, don't forget to leave a like on the video and write us a nice comment as you always do. And for those watching us for the first time, subscribe to the channel to see all the upcoming recaps. See you in the next movie. Peace.